Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ruach HaKodesh, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the hopeful elect. Right, as you can see here, today I have this article titled, Trump Calls for U.S. to Cut Off Trade with Spain Over NATO Funding. Iran again seeks control of Greenland at NATO Summit. All right, so as we see now further that, Trump, all right, really America is, furthering its, isolation from the rest of its world. All right, even its own allies, which we know this is all leading up to the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. All right, in particular, Revelation chapter 17, verse 16. So before we start here, this is the book of Isaiah chapter 26, verse 10. And it reads, let favor be showed to the wicked. All right. And I want to liken that favor unto, having this alliance, having, U.S. having the alliances that it has, right. Having the between NATO and the EU, those pretty much agreements and so on and so forth. Right. They're supposed to be a team, if you will, and that doesn't mean that you can't put yourself above the others. But the way America does it is they put themselves in the number one spot while also pushing everyone else down, so as it reads here, let favor be showed to the wicked, yet will he not learn righteousness. All right. America cannot learn, to be a team player, as an alliance. All right. We're supposed to have everyone's, best interest, taken into account. But America is focused on itself. All right. And that's why ultimately the allies are going to turn on America. All right. The side eyes at America are on a, astronomical scale right now. So continuing reading here. All right. And then this him bringing up the Greenland Slovakia, but him, reigniting the little Greenland thing. That's actually funny. All right. That was just extra fuel to the fire. But here this caption reads, U.S. and Iran exchange strikes, overshadowing Trump's visit with NATO leaders. President Donald Trump is meeting on Wednesday morning with NATO allies, right, which was like 2 days ago. President Donald Trump on Wednesday appeared to grow increasingly frustrated with NATO allies for not supporting this war effort in Iran, targeting Spain in particular and calling for all trade to be cut off with that country. And we know that NATO, all right, referring to Revelation the 17th chapter, NATO is a part of the beast. All right, that beast, you have NATO, America, and the EU, which is pretty much the power structure of Esau Edom. Now, dealing with Revelation the 17th chapter, all right, it separates America from the beast as the whore, all right, that rides on top of the beast. All right, which shows you the position that America has, over its allies, or the position that America has, really as the capital of Esau Edom today. This is the book of Revelation chapter 17, verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast. Now these 10 horns today are a representation of the EU. But, it says 10 horns because it started with, pretty much 10 nations. And one of those 10 nations that it started with was Spain, or Spain and Portugal rather. All right, they're counted together as one. Which thou sawest upon the beast, and which the others you have Spain and Portugal, UK and Ireland, West Germany, Greece, France, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Belgium, Denmark, and Italy. All right. But today, obviously, you have more and more nations who've joined the EU. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. All right. That whore being America, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. And this is going into the destruction of America via thermonuclear missiles, all right, as well as the lasers from the chariots of the angels and Yahweh Shai. But America's allies, all right, are going to aid in that destruction. Them too, all right, the Lord is going to cause something to where they completely, pretty much break away from dealing with America, all right, to where them too are, turned into enemies, right, frenemies, if you will. And they're going to launch their missiles as well. And as we're reading here, all right, all of these are pretty much, nabs at this prophecy coming to pass. Little, jabs at, America's ultimate isolation. NATO allies for not supporting this war effort in Iran, and the fact that America, all right, is getting, or Donald Trump, which he represents America as a president, of course, all right, is frustrated at the allies for not joining this, is borderline, insane, all right, because number one, they have nothing to gain, all right, and everything to lose. Because America, all right, is not as close as those allies. So it'd be easier for Iran to target. And that's a big reason why, a lot of them have not stepped in, because they would have quickly and easily, all right, been hit already, But what America is doing is making things worse for them and still putting the blame on them when America pretty much had no reason for this war. All right. And their allies know that. Their allies know that the small hats, all right, really drew America into this. And what this is showing you is really the division between the house of Esau. All right. The division between the house of Satan. And as Yahweh Shai said it best. All right. If Satan be divided against Satan, roughly paraphrasing, that the house cannot stand. Showing us that Esau, all right, and their empire over this current earth age, all right, is dwindling and is on his way out. This is the book of Mark, chapter 3. It's the book of Mark, chapter 3, verse 23. And it reads here, and he called them unto him and said unto them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. All right, and this kingdom, all right, would be likened unto Esau's empire, Esau's kingdom, all right, the so-called white man. If a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, the house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but hath an end. All right, in this current, as we read here, let's get the book of 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter. It's the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 6. We start at verse 7. The point is in verse 9. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So the Edomites, all right, would be in power, all right, at the end of this current age. All right, and then that's where you have the fourth beast, or the fourth nation, to be in power, which are the Romans. And as we read here in Revelation, the 17th chapter, the beast, all right, that sitteth upon, the 10 horns that sitteth upon the beast, all right, and this whore, America, NATO, and the EU, they are a revival of the Roman Empire. All right, a revival of that fourth beast, as we read in Daniel, the 7th chapter. And they are being divided. All right, which shows you that their end is near. and that the destruction of America, all right, that pretty much marks that end, because America is the face, the head. That's why she's the whore that sits on top of the beast. So Spain is a wasted cause, Trump said at a NATO summit in Ankara, Turkey, during an official greeting with Secretary General Mark Rutte. We don't want to do any trade business with Spain anymore. By the way, I'd like you to cut it up. Spain is a terrible partner in NATO. They don't participate, they don't pay. I don't want anything to do with Spain. Cut off all trade with Spain, please, including visits. The comments were the latest complaint from Trump against Spain, the only member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization that is not committed to defense spending equal to 5% of its GDP by 2030. The U.S., because of its outsized military spending, indirectly contributes more to the NATO than any other country. Trump said last week the U.S. is responsible for about 15% of NATO's direct funding, according to the bloc. At last year's NATO summit at The Hague, allies agreed at Trump's prompting to target defense spending equal to 5% of each NATO member's country GDP, up from the previous 2%. Spain was alone. No idea why my phone just got so dark. Spain was alone among the 32 member states in saying it wouldn't commit to the target. Trump has previously threatened to end trade with Spain, including in March, when the Spanish foreign minister said at the time that they wouldn't allow the U.S. to use jointly operated bases in southern Spain for any strikes not covered by the UN's charter. I don't see, because, right, and that's fair. America wants to bend the rules only when it's, beneficial to them. And then they get mad, all right, and then wants to get mad at others for not, wanting to bend the rules. But that's Esau for you. I don't want to do any more trade, and that was the spirit of Cain. All right, he slew, Abel for following the rules. He got mad that Abel followed the rules and he didn't. That is like, you could have just followed the rules too. But continuing, I don't want to do any more trade with them. All right, take it immediately. Trump said on Wednesday, don't even talk to them. And although Trump is singling out Spain, all right, this is being looked at by all the other allies as well. That side eye is heavy upon America. And then on top of that, the shit that they're doing with Iran, is reflecting poorly on his allies, and they don't seem to care. So imagine how that looks as well. All of America's allies see America as this whore, all right, as this selfish bitch, all right. And soon enough, they're going to do something about it. And that's where the Revelation chapter 17, verse 16 comes in. All right, they shall burn her and eat her flesh. Trump said on Wednesday, don't even talk to them. They're hopeless, bad people, because they have everybody else going and paying and working in Spain. In particular, Spain. There are a couple of others, but in particular, Spain. They're open about it. They're hostile about it. And let's see how hostile they remain when they call up and they please, I'm sure they should say, and they say, please, we want to trade with you, sir. We want to trade with you, sir. They make so much money with us, and we're going to see that they make a lot less. I want no business with them. All right. And if I'm not mistaken, let's actually search it up. But the U.S. makes quite considerable amount of money trading with Spain as well. So, does the The United States makes more money from the bilateral relationship. The U.S. consistently runs a large trade surplus with Spain, selling billions more in goods and services than it buys. Additionally, American foreign direct investment in Spain significantly outweighs Spanish investment in the U.S. Trade in goods, the U.S. exports over 26 billion in goods to Spain annually, while importing roughly 21 billion, leaving a multi-billion-dollar trade surplus in favor of the U.S. All right, so if they were to cut off Spain, the U.S. would just be doing it self-harm. You know, and that's something that these devils, and that's how you know that the Lord really has Esau blinded, to where, or blinded, but also that you know, that evil and cruel spirit that the Lord has on Trump. All right, as scripture say in Isaiah the 19th chapter, he was going to give Egypt into the hand of a cruel Lord. When someone is cruel, all right, they will do anything to get at, you know, their quote unquote enemies, even harm themselves, all right, if need be. Let's get that in the book of Isaiah the 19th chapter. You know, like I mentioned before, it's insane. You know, Isaiah chapter 19, verse 4, and the Egyptians will I give into the hand of a cruel Lord. Now, not the ancient Egyptians, but the spiritual modern day Egyptians, which are the Americans. All right, because America is also likened unto spiritual Egypt. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Awashai of hosts. Right, let's look into this word cruel. Quashah. Hard, cruel, severe, obstinate. Hard, difficult. All right, severe, fierce, intense, vehement, stubborn, stiff neck, rigorous of battle. All right, and then every single one of these describes Trump, especially this word right here, difficult. He's like a man child. You know, it's just no matter what you do, you know, nothing works. All right, he's just difficult to deal with, and that reflects on America as a whole. Scriptures say, you know, as the leader of the people is, so are the people. Roughly paraphrasing. Let's see if we can find that. There's Ezekiel, not Ecclesiasticus, probably the 10th chapter. Right, it's the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 10. A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. So Trump is difficult, all right, and you best believe that America is difficult as well, which is why its allies, all right, they're getting fed up, you know, and sooner or later, you know, that annoyance, all right, will be dealt with. Yeah, so going back to this article, Trump doing this was not smart at all, right? It's not smart at all, all right? And in fact, it cripples the U.S. more. But continuing, but that's why scriptures say, you know, is there no more wisdom in Teman? All right, Esau is, you know, losing their wisdom. Hostile. They make so much money with us, and we're going to see that they make a lot less. I want no business with them. After Trump's comments, sources at Moncloa Palace, the Spanish Prime Minister's office, told Madrid's El Diario newspaper that Spain maintains an excellent social, cultural, and economic relationship with the U.S., and it is not our intention for that to change. All right, and it might not be their intention, but it's ultimately the intention of Yahweh Ba'ashem Awashai. Right, let's go back to Revelation 17th chapter, because that's that scripture as well, that they're not going to depart. You know, they're not going to pull away from America until the Lord says it's time to do so. Verse 17, for the Most High has put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, all right, which is NATO. So you're going to have America's allies, continue to work as allies until the Lord says, now it's time to stop and to turn. And I give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. It's like, it reminds me of an example that you see in like shows or whatever, where you have someone who's controlling like an army, all right, and they finally find the enemy, or who he thinks is the enemy, and then they're just like, all right, take him out. And then the other guy starts laughing, and then, pretty much the army that he brought with him has all turned their guns against him. All right. And that's how it's going to be for America. Everyone is going to turn, their guns or their arrows, missiles, all right, against her. And to give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. So the Lord has put it in their hearts, all right, to what? To not want to ruin this relationship just yet. An economic relationship with the U.S., and it's not our intention for that to change. Trump on Wednesday said nobody, aside from the small countries, wanted to help the U.S. in its war with Iran. There was calls made a few weeks ago, Trump said, claiming he spoke with the United Kingdom. And it's funny how, on one hand, you're claiming, oh, we've completely destroyed Iran's military and, we're going to destroy them, blah, blah, blah. This is a completely one-sided fight, all of that. And then complain about others not helping. Do you need the help or not? Right? There was calls made a few weeks ago, Trump said, claiming he spoke with the United Kingdom, Germany, and France. All right. 3 other, I'll say founding members of the EU. Among others, nobody wanted to help. Some of the very small countries wanted to help because they're the most vulnerable. I mean, that's the only reason they wanted to help. So see, this is the difficult part. It's like he's complaining about the countries that wanted to help as well. And that's why someone like this, they just got to go. No matter what, it's never enough for them. All right. And that's really the spirit of Esau. It's never enough for them, man. And that, as we also read, right, let favor be shown unto the wicked, yet will he not learn righteousness. They can't get enough of evils. The leaders of the UK, France, and Germany did not immediately respond to Trump's statement on Wednesday. Each has repeatedly declined to involve their countries directly in the war, although each also has said Iran should not be allowed to develop nuclear weapons. In which, right now, right, we know that, or as we just read, sooner or later, all of these countries are going to get involved in this war, because this is World War III. Everyone might not be involved with it just yet, but as time progresses, all right, it's going to get to that point, and it's going to get to the point where millions, all right, if not billions, of troops are, put on the ground over there in the Levant, all right, over there in the Middle East, and to set up the stage for Yahushai's return. You can read that at 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, Zephaniah, the 3rd chapter, as well as Joel, the 3rd chapter. Trump spoke about his displeasure with NATO allies at large. All right, so that's all of their allies, and it's like, what do you think can come from that? Here it is, putting it in a smaller example. All right, you're one guy out of the friend group, all right, quote unquote friend group, and you get mad at everyone else. How does that look? Right? You just single yourself out. You make it easier on everyone else to just cash you out. Trump spoke about his displeasure with NATO allies at large, saying that the U.S. has paid for allies to be protected against Russia, but that safety has nothing to do with the U.S. They weren't there for us, and we've been there for them. He said, we spent over $1 trillion over the last short period trillion in order to protect these countries from Russia and has nothing to do with us. We have a notion, but it's been a long-term thing and they haven't treated us right. Trump on Wednesday shook hands with Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen a day after the president renewed his calls for the U.S. to take control of Greenland, which is an autonomous territory under Denmark. Denmark, all right, being another one of those founder 10 nations of the 10 horns. You know, so it's all prophecy, man. And you really, as we leave us the book of Psalms 119, but let's see here. It is time work. Right, it's the book of Psalms chapter 119, verse 126. It is time for thee, Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Abishai, to work, for they have made void thy law. Right, looking into this word work, because this is exactly what the Lord is doing. All right, this is what the Lord has been doing. It's just now, since we're closer to the end, things are starting to ramp up. All right, scriptures say, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely not tarry. If we paraphrasing Habakkuk, the second chapter and the third verse. But here, I shall, to do, fashion, accomplish, make, to do, work, make, produce, to do, to make, produce, to be done. All right, and what is it that the Lord is going to do? What is he going to execute? What is he going to have done? His will, right? This is the book of, let's get Psalms. It's the book of Psalms chapter 33, verse 11. The counsel of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Abishai, standeth forever, the thoughts of his heart to all generations. All right, and in this counsel basically goes into his plans. Right? Counsel, advice, purpose, counsels, purpose, advice, counselors, by implication, plans, also prudence, advice, advisement, counsels, purpose. So everything that the Lord wants, everything he says is going to happen, all right, he makes it happen because he's the one in power. So finishing up here, Rutte later celebrated Trump's ability to get allies to pay a greater share for defense. Trump on Wednesday shook hands with Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen a day after the president renewed his calls for the U.S. to take control of Greenland, which is an autonomous territory under Denmark. And this shows you that, you know, these devils have been behind the scenes. They've been working as well, too. Because when Trump first, you know, brought up the whole Greenland thing, you know, there was major pushback and it died down. So the fact that they're bringing it back up, all right, they must seem to be ready now. Either that, all right, or really it's the Lord forcing their hand, because these devils know they have but a short time. Revelation 12:12. So either way, they got to get the ball rolling. Frederiksen pledged earlier in the summit to defend Greenland, saying, and really, right, it's the Lord, you know, getting the ball rolling. Frederiksen pledged earlier in the summit to defend Greenland, saying, our position is clear as it has been all through. Greenland is, of course, not for sale. Rutte later celebrated Trump's ability to get allies to pay a greater share for defense, right? So they're trying to, you know, it's like when you can sense the tension, but no one's really, you know, hitting at it. Rutte later celebrated Trump's ability to get allies to pay a greater share for defense. Rutte appeared to remind the U.S. president that Spain was part of the coalition that upped their spending. And you mentioned Spain, even you got Spain to pay 2%. And you mentioned Spain, even you got Spain to pay 2% they spent. They made a huge step in last year, so there are still issues we have to solve. But hey, also, even Spain, I would say they got to the 2%. Rutte said, all right, so he's trying to, you know, be some, I guess, peacemaker or whatever, but it doesn't really matter, all right, because this is the workings of Yahweh Ba'ashem Abishai, and the Lord is leading Esau to the slaughter, leading Esau to the destruction, leading Esau to the fire. All right, so going back to Mark, the 3rd chapter, It's the book of Mark, chapter 3, verse 26. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, as we're seeing, he cannot stand, but hath an end. All right. And when it's that, when that end comes, it's going to come quick, as we're seeing. This is the book of Luke, chapter 10, verse 18. And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. When something, when lightning strikes, what is quick, fast, and destructive. All right. And that's exactly how the Lord is going to destroy Esau's empire. He's going to destroy, the physical counterpart of Satan. All right. Esau, Edom's empire. It's quick, fast, and destructive. All right. In Revelation, the 18th chapter, it says that the Lord destroys America within an hour. All right. So if he's destroying America within an hour, after he destroys America, the Lord is going to, pretty much, go around the earth and subduing the rest of the nations, alongside his elect men, of course, and they're going to wrap that up pretty quick. And the kingdom is going to be given unto the saints. That's Daniel. Let's grab here. It's the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 11. It's the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 11, and it reads, I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. And in this horn, I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. I believe this horn is speaking about America, refers to as a little horn. I considered the horns, and behold, there came among them another little horn. All right, and that little horn is America. But jumping back down, I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. All right, going into the blasphemies and the pride that exudes out of Esau's mouth. I beheld even till the beast was slain. All right, and that beast dealing with Rome, in which the revival of Rome, America, NATO, and the EU, all right, that beast is going to be slain. Esau's empire is going to be taken down, by Yahweh Shai, ultimately, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. Now, specifically, all right, zooming into the beast, or into the face or the heart of the current beast, America, they are the ones that are going to be giving unto that burning flame. But at the destruction of America, all right, you're going to have the fall of the house of Satan, all right, of the house of Esau. It's the book of Ecclesiasticus or Sirach. Phone overheating. But it's the book of Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, chapter 12, verse 6. And it reads, for the Most High hateth sinners, and will repay vengeance unto the ungodly. All right, now Esau is in the scriptures known as the wicked. All right, so they're quite literally known as the ungodly, but you also have the wicked of the other nations and the wicked of our people as well, but specifically dealing with Esau, Edom, and will repay vengeance unto the ungodly, and keepeth them against the mighty day of their punishment. Right, scriptures say the Lord knows how to preserve the wicked unto judgment. All right, let's see if we could grab that. Preserve wicked. To the day of, let's see, the day of Here's the book of 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. The Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations. All right, so what about the ungodly, as we just read in the book of Sirach? And to reserve the unjust, all right, ungodly, the wicked, the sinners, unto the day of judgment to be punished. And that's what he's doing to America. That's what he's doing to Esau, all right, as well as the wicked, people around the world. Because a lot of them think that, they can just continue living their evil lives, all right? And Esau thinks that they're going to continue on, committing these evils on the earth, all right? And that when the Lord returns, they'll be able to fight them off, all right? They may be, set back, but then they'll just rebuild. And it's not going to end like that, all right? When the Lord returns, he's putting a hard stop to Esau and their plans and their counsels and their purposes, man. In the prosperity of a man, where were we? For the Most High hated sinners, and will repay vengeance unto the ungodly, and keepeth them against the mighty day of their punishment. Give unto the good, and help not the sinner. A friend cannot be known in prosperity, and an enemy cannot be hidden in adversity. In the prosperity of a man, enemies will be grieved, but in his adversity, even a friend will depart. All right, and this is what we are seeing happen with America. Their friends, all right, quote unquote, their allies are going to depart, and they're going to take part in the adversity of the ultimate adversity of America, all right, her destruction. And it's not that they're departing because, well, one, we know it's the will of the Lord is having them depart, but America is the one pushing them away. Why? Because she cannot learn righteousness. She cannot learn to be a team player, and that's going to also, it's really the pride, right? That pride is going to walk her directly to her fall, all right? Walk her directly to the fire and off the cliff, man. That's why scriptures say the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, all right? Deceived you into thinking that you're untouchable. Which we will soon see, all right, is not the case. So I believe that was the end of this article here. Yeah, so I'll just close it out there. Lord willing, this video was edifying, informative, or exhorting in some way, shape, or form. And what's more, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the hopeful elect.